Om Jnana-Tinmirasya Jnananjana-Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagara Raghunathanamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Dinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, I hope this finds all of you in good spirits, in the bliss of Krishna consciousness, in the bliss of discovering the Bhagavad Gita. We are on the 1/3 portion of the Bhagavad Gita. We are on the 6th chapter. And if you remember right, in the first 9 shlokas that we did, the verses that we did, we got introduced to what is yoga and about the yoga ladder, Arurukshor Munir Yogam, starting with Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and how all yogas culminate in devotion to Krishna. That is the topmost rung of the ladder. That is the purpose of yoga, the purpose of human life, that is the purpose of spiritual life, goal of life, everything. We understood that. And we got to understand a little bit about the mind. This part of the subtle body called the mind, which is the central player, and how difficult it is to control the mind. How intangible and subtle is the mind. That is difficult. And we are all driven by the mind. And the mind is very subtle, but with intelligence we can gain some control over the mind. And we heard how Krishna is giving a precursor to the mind. First he's telling about the mind, because he's going to describe Ashtanga Yoga in this chapter, otherwise called Jnana Yoga. And the central piece of that yoga is the mind. Under the mind are the senses. If the mind is controlled, the senses are controlled. We saw about the Ashta Angas, Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Jnana, Dharana, Samadhi, like that. We saw the Ashtangas. And we saw also how popular yoga has really a very superficial understanding, and it takes it very physically, very much in terms of the material gratification that we need, utilizes yoga for that purpose, and how it's a huge $60 billion business, and people are not really delving deeply into yoga. No doubt, for practicing that so-called yoga, you have some benefit in terms of good health and something, but that is not the meaning of yoga. That's not the meaning of yoga. Yoga is depth. It's about you connecting with the supreme absolute truth. So Krishna is going to describe henceforth how to do Ashtanga Yoga. And he will describe Sucho Deshe Pratishtapya, find a nice clean place. It should be neither too high nor too low. Sit down in Padma Asana, meditate in the tip of the nose with the half closed eyes. He will say all these things and describe it. And amazingly, Arjuna will reject it. That is the best part. We won't do that today. But today he will describe Ashtanga Yoga to how to control the mind physically using the body. That is one way, and it's called Ashtanga Yoga. So we're going to read that. But Krishna is giving a precursor in this chapter when he explains to Arjuna. And we end the whole thing with the 9th shloka. And Krishna is explaining, if you go to shloka 10, Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi stitah ekakiya chittatma nirashi aparigraha. Today's reading starts from shloka 10. There the translation reads, a transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. Aparigraha. See, look at the first he's saying is possessiveness. That's what, is the central point for a yogi. Secluded place, away from all the hustle and bustle. He should fix his mind in connection with the Supreme. And better to stay alone in a secluded place, control his mind. He should free himself from desires and he should free himself from the feeling of possessiveness. You know possessiveness? I'm sure you know possessiveness. All of you know, we all know this very well. We possess. In fact, even though we don't enjoy what we possess, it's more important to possess. And more important to tell everybody, I possess this. I am the Lord and Master and proprietor of this. Do you see it? I have so much money in the bank. I have 2 houses. I have 4 cars. My children are educated in London. Another one is in Germany. Another one is this thing. I've made it. I've done it. I've got all this together. Can you see it? That's it. Recognize me for my possessiveness, my possession. And somebody can ask you, what about you, the possessor? The possessor of the possessions is actually greater than the possessions. Am I right? It doesn't matter that you are the person in focus. If you are not there, what does the possessions do by itself? They are anyway there. And you will stop possessing them and somebody else will possess them. And they will become possessors. It's a beautiful story in the Bhagavatam, which is related by that Avadhuta, a person in the forest who learns from different things in nature. And he says, various people have taught me many things. I've learned this lesson from the hawk. You know the hawk with like an eagle hawk. And there's a whole lot of hawks hanging around together. And there is a baby hawk in that. And more smart and little too adventurous. And the baby hawk somehow got a piece of flesh in its mouth. And as soon as all the hawks saw that the small young hawk has got a big piece of flesh in its mouth, they attacked the hawk. And the baby hawk is wondering, I thought this is what we are supposed to be doing. We should all supposed to be and we should each one eat it. And I was trying to find a nice place to sit down and eat it peacefully and have a picnic all by myself. And all the hawks attacked that and knocked on the head and this and that. And it was not very experienced, right? He was wondering, what is going on? And he was dipping and diving. And then after some time, he gave up. He just said, it's all because of this piece of flesh I'm holding in my mouth. That's why they're attacking me. He let go of it. As soon as he let go of it, all the hawks went behind that. They left this hawk alone. So that hawk was sitting down and watching and said, wow, I'm no more attacked. I'm so peaceful. It's that possession of that piece of meat that put me in such great danger. And that hawk had a realization. And watching that hawk, this Avadhuta said, see, if you have any possession with you, you'll be attacked. It's better to be aparigraha, have no possessions. Nobody will trouble you. If you're somewhere in the forest, nobody cares for you. They say from a distance and they leave you. You have nothing with you. You're not interesting to me. You're a, useless guy. And this way people will reject you in society. And this is the best way to escape from people in the society. That's why he says go to a secluded place to practice yoga. That's interesting. Aparigraha, without possessions. So here is Rupa Goswami's very interesting quotation. But how does a yogi see possessions? Does he give away possessions? Like I said, the hawk gave away. Prabhupada is bringing out this quote of Rupa Goswami, which you will see in that purport. Very beautiful, very important. In that 10th shloka purport, you will see Anasaktasya Vishayan Yataham Upayunjatah Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. Very beautiful definition of Vairagya. Vairagya means not giving up everything and running away to the forest and sitting away somewhere with your underwear alone, quietly. And my gosh, like that. No. Real Vairagya means when one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. Very, very interesting point. These are all great renunciants talking. Prabhupada illustrated this in Chicago. When he was going for a morning walk, they were going in front of the United Nations headquarters. He said that all of a sudden, they were discussing about renunciation, attachment and all that. All of a sudden he said, I don't want this United Nations building. I renounce it today. I don't want it, he said. Then he looked at all of them and he said, I don't want it. I'm giving it up. Anybody wants, they can take it. And he kept walking. And they were wondering what is he saying. Then he turned around and said, it never belonged to me. So what's the use of me renouncing it? Does it mean anything? Because it never belonged to me. So everything that you have with you, including your body, your mind, your intelligence, your house, your car, your children, your dad, this everything, actually doesn't belong to you. So what is the meaning of saying, I'm giving up all these things? But there is greater meaning if you say, Ishavashamidam sarvam, everything belongs to Krishna, including all my possessions, my relatives, myself, my body, everything. I shall offer everything in service to Krishna. That is real Vairagya. Interesting definition. Artificially, one can give up things because generally these things give us a lot of trouble. Like I said, the hawk got a lot of trouble by owning and possessing something. Your relatives will come, then they will do politics, then somebody will file a suit, then the next door neighbor will get envious of you. He will throw a stone onto your car and break the windshield, and then he will do this, then somebody else will do all because you possess things, because you are positioned. So you'll think, I'll get rid of all these things. No, you tolerate because it doesn't belong to you anyway. I will use everything in the service of Krishna. It doesn't belong to me. If the next door neighbor drops a thing on it, that's okay. I'll tell him, why are you stopping? Why are you spoiling something that belongs to Krishna, the Supreme Lord? I'm using it only in the service of Krishna. You may think that I'm going to be worried by this, but you have only done something to the possession of God, and you will get a proper result for that. In this way, a person converts everything not to thinking that it's my possession, it belonged to God. This is what Bali Maharaja learned. Many of you from Kerala. I think I told you this in the last session or session before that. He was put into such a tight corner by Vamana by taking away everything, all his possessions, and then telling him, where shall I keep my third step? You don't keep up your word. And then Bali Maharaj was completely finished. And he was like standing with his head down. And once upon a time, he was the ruler of the three worlds, highly proud and very powerful. And in a second, everything gone. And he was standing there ashamed like nothing. But he knew that some amazing lesson is being learned by him. And he completely surrendered himself. He was bound by Vasuki, that snake, and he couldn't even move his hands, and was brought in front of Vamana, who asked him, where shall I place my third step? You are a king, you never kept up your word. And then he knew this is Vishnu, he can take away everything, everything belongs to him. So he said and thought in his mind, actually, I have no more possessions. Everything has been taken away. What more can I give? And even his grandfather Prahalad came and told him, he has nothing more, just excuse him, just bless him, leave him. But the Lord insisted, give me my third step. Then Bali Maharaj thought very deeply and he got the intelligence, because he was a very intelligent person. He decided to serve Vamana and he did all these things. So he was given the intelligence to understand that I still have myself. I possess myself. So he offered himself, saying, the possessor of these possessions is even greater than these possessions. And I know you're asking for this. I surrender myself to you. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. And at that time, the Lord gave him complete mercy. Right? So I don't possess anything. Whatever I possess is by the Lord's mercy with me. Let me use it in the service of the real proprietor. This is the meaning of Vairagya. Not that you give away everything, go and sit somewhere in the corner, away from society and everything. You teach people how to utilize everything in the service of the Lord. That is real Vairagya. That's mentioned here very nicely. Krishna goes ahead in the rest of the chapter, in the rest of the shlokas, to describe this thing called Ashtanga Yoga after giving these instructions. Samankaya Shilo Grivam Dharayan Achalam Stiraha Sampreksh Nasikagram Swam Dishaschana Valokayam Prashantatma Vigatabhi Brahmachari Vrite Stitaha Manah Samyam Yavamachitto Yukta Asitamat Paraha. In this way, he describes physically, sit in a nice place, not too high, not too low. Then sit in Padmasana, breathe nicely, pranayamas, look at the tip of your nose, sleep with half closed eyelids. And he gives all these physical descriptions for Ashtanga Yoga. But then he gives this interesting instruction that after sitting like this, you should breathe and you should be free from all these mental desires, completely free from desire for enjoying sex and all these things. And then you see this, Manah samyamya machitto yukta asit mat paraha. One should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. This is what an Ashtanga yogi should do. Remember, Bhagavad Gita is the most authoritative text on yoga. And here Krishna is describing Ashtanga yoga and telling, I am in your heart as Paramatma. You must sit like this in meditation. And you must meditate on me in the heart. Right? Krishna is available in everybody's heart. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshu arjuna tishtati. My dear Arjuna, hrideshu, in the hridaya, Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, is situated in everybody's heart. There he is called Paramatma. But there he plays only the role of Upadrashta, Anumanta, Bharta, Bhokta, Maheshwara, Paramatmeti Chapiyukto Dehe Asmin Purusha Paraha. The Supreme Purusha, situated in the heart, is just two things: Upadrashta, Anumanta, witnesser and sanctioner of all the activities that you perform. He is there in everybody's heart, even the mosquito's heart, even in the gnat's heart. Wherever there is soul, accompanying the soul is Paramatma in this world. Inside the blue whale, inside the monkey, donkey, camel, horse, tiger, your pet cat, your dog, your rats in your house, the cockroaches in your house, the lizard in your house, everybody's heart there is Paramatma. He accompanies the soul. So here, since you are of developed consciousness, since you're a human being, you should know this description of the Lord in the heart and you should meditate. That's the meaning of Ashtanga Yoga's main business is after calming your physical body, putting it in a stretcher, and then doing pranayama to control your mind. After your mind is reasonably controlled, free from desires, everything, boom, you'll start focusing on the Paramatma in the heart. That's the purpose of Ashtanga Yoga. The goal of life, Prabhupada is saying in the purport, the goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated within the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the four-handed Vishnu form. The yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu and not for any other purpose. This is a statement made by Krishna here. But if you go to all these yoga classes that you go to, they don't even know who is Krishna, what is Paramatma. They will teach you, like you do exercises in the gym, they will teach you yoga. Stretch, put your hands straight, breathe. Make your this thing touch your feet. Breathe. They'll tell you all these things. There's no chance of them telling you anything about the Paramatma in the heart. But you will not get the benefit of Ashtanga Yoga unless you practice according to what Krishna has described Ashtanga Yoga here. He's telling here, Mat Chitta. He's saying, think of me. Chitta means consciousness. Mat Chitto Yukta Asita Mat Paraha. You see that in 13th and 14th shloka. You will see very clearly mentioned. Manah Samyamya Mat Chitto Yukta Asita Mat Paraha. The word Mat Paraha means the ultimate. Paraha means Mat means me. I am the ultimate goal. And Mat Chitta means concentrating the mind. Chitta also means mind. Focus the mind on me in the heart. Right? Isn't it very clear? This is what is Ashtanga Yoga. But which yoga class is going to teach you this? Everything else that you get from meditating on the sing the Lord is all byproducts. You'll get a lot of these other byproducts. You'll become free from disease, your health will become good, and your breathing will become nice. You will not get this. All those are not even mentioned here because that is a given. You don't have to talk about it. But you don't do yoga for the sake of those byproducts. Right? You can't do yoga forgetting the main purpose of yoga for the sake of those byproducts that you get. It is foolish if somebody goes to the supermarket or goes to the mall and then he sees a big advertisement saying that if you buy this huge bucket of washing powder, you get this soap. Wow, really? I get this soap? I go and buy the huge bucket of washing powder, which costs me maybe 1,000 rupees or something. And that soap, because I will get that soap free. Wow. Does anybody do that? Does anybody go, in order to buy the soap, does he go and buy that whole bucket of washing powder? No. No. Therefore, you don't go and do yoga for the sake of the byproduct. That is a given thing. You will get it anyway. But the point is you will get Krishna, you will get association with the Supreme Lord, you will connect with the Supreme. That's what is the statement that you heard. So you should look at this in terms of that. This is the full understanding of yoga that you're getting from Krishna, who is Yogeshwara, who is the Lord of Yoga. Yoga Ishvara, called Yogeshwara. Because everybody meditates on him, all the yogis meditate on him. He's the Yogeshwara. Okay? That's why you will see even Lord Shiva is meditating on him. He is the point of object of meditation for all yogis. It's also mentioned repeatedly in Bhagavad Gita and many scriptures. Okay? So that is the main thing. And the other thing is, smaller things Krishna starts mentioning. And one of the interesting things he mentions is, a yogi is a person who is very regulated because his mind is controlled and focused. And what does that mean? Does he mean he doesn't eat, doesn't sleep and all that? No. Yuktahara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapna avabodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkha. Very interesting shloka. I will ask one of you to please read this translation. Please go ahead and read this translation. Anybody volunteering? Anybody volunteering to read can please read this translation.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Subham. Go ahead.
He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system.
Thank you. Eating, sleeping, recreation, work. Even recreation is part of a yogi. Regulated, who neither eats too much. You will see another shloka here. Go to 16 in your book, open. Nati ashnatastu yogo asti naichaikantam ashnata anasnatah nachati swapna shilasya jagrato naiva charjuna. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. That's after this is saying yukta ahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasya. Regulation. That means not too much, not too less, just enough. And just enough differs from person to person according to each person's psychophysical state. For Bhima, he could eat a whole cartload of food. When he went to kill Bakasura, Bakasura was supposed to get the supply of one cartload of food and one human being. He went in the cartload as the human being for sacrifice. On the way, he ate up the entire cartload. And then he was belching and rolling into this thing, and the Bakasura saw him, how dare you eat my whole thing, and he killed Bakasura. For Bhima, he needs to eat a lot, right? But for somebody else, he just eats less because his constitution is like that. No, it's enough. I'll get upset beyond this. I cannot eat. So according to each person and his psychophysical situation, he knows what is enough for me so that I don't get disturbed. If you eat too much, then your senses will become agitated. If the senses become agitated, then you become passionate. And become passionate, you will not get sleep very well. If you don't sleep very well, the next day will be very disturbed. In fact, most of them don't notice these finer things in life. They remain very disturbed. They work late in the nights, they get up late in the morning, and they feel dull, drowsy. These people can never be regulated, therefore they can never be yogi. No point going to yoga class alone. So here it is mentioned, not too much, not too less also. You're not asked to fast unnecessarily and all that. Just enough. This is what is difficult to do. It is difficult to do it just enough, but it's easy to be in the extremes. To eat too much is easy, to eat too less is easy, but to eat just enough is difficult. To sleep just enough is difficult. It requires discipline. It requires control of the mind, control of the senses. It requires regulation. Unless a person is disciplined, he will never rise in his internal growth. There is an example that I give. I made a video of this. Example of flying the kite. The kite? Patang. The kids fly the kite. I was in Bali. I think I told you this earlier, I don't know. I was in Bali and it was very exciting to watch the sky filled with different types of kites. Huge kites. I saw them transporting the kite on a huge lorry. You won't believe it. And on either side of the lorry are two motorcycles holding it because it's stretching beyond the lorry. Can you believe it? Have you seen such a big kite? And then I was like, what is this? I asked. And the whole, she said, Maharaj, there's a kite. Kite? I couldn't believe it. And then I said, I'm not going for the program. I want to go and see this. No, Maharaj, it's late. It will take half an hour. No, I have to go and see this. I'll never get to see it because it was evening, about 5:36, and they were all flying in the beach. And there were kites like dragons with big tail. The tail was so long, they had to hold the tail and roll it up. And these kites are going in the sky. And it was flown by ropes, not just string. It is a very big plastic rope. Such a huge one. And it was taken off into the sky against the sea breeze. And it was, huge reel they had. They were rolling it like a winch. And there were so many people operating it. Of course, there were also smaller guys, kids and all flying. But everybody is using the sea breeze. It impinges on the kite against and they pull it up like this. No? When they hold it taut, the kite rises. In other words, when there is opposition of the breeze, it rises. When there is discipline, which you are seeing as an opposition to your freedom, you will rise. If you subject yourself to discipline, a kite rises on the basis of opposition. Isn't it? If it goes with the breeze, you'll see it'll just fly off like that. But you hold it against the breeze, it rises high. So if you hold yourself against a discipline which your mind does not like, you will rise internally. This is the meaning of a yogi. A yogi is not a foolish guy practicing unnecessarily some austerity. He is rising spiritually inside. You don't know him. He's subjecting his mind to discipline. He's saying, no, not this, not now. And there's a time for it. I get up early in the morning. There is a time for my meditation. I do my walking, I do my yoga, I do my this thing, I do the right thing. I don't indulge, I don't open my phone in the morning. I don't read the newspaper. I attend to these things. I do my meditation, I worship the Lord, I do my puja, I read the Bhagavad, I don't do any of these other stuff. At the right time, I open up at 8 o'clock, I go to office, then I'm actually open to all the rest of the things. But I'll do my sadhana in the morning. Many of our devotees were very busy, their profession, everything. But in the morning, you can never get them. They'll tell their friends, it's my private time. It's my spiritual time. I don't give it to anybody. It's mine. And they remain disciplined. About 4 or 5 hours, they are with themselves. They get up at 3:30 in the morning. You won't get them till 8:30. After they finish their breakfast at home, they spend time with their kids and all that, they lend themselves to the office and they're very focused on the office. And exactly at the right time, they'll get out. I'm not working extra. I will get out. At 5:36, they're out and they give their max. They do very good. And they're out back, they spend time with their house, they read Bhagavad with the whole house, they do Kirtan, Bhajan, go for a program, remember Krishna and sleep peacefully early. Disciplined life. And these are actually yogis, although they go to work. We have so many such devotees in the world. Some of them run big businesses. Prabhupada said he's a sannyasi, although he's taken up a job, about one of his disciples, because he said, all that he earns, he comes and gives it to me. And I use it in publishing Bhagavad Gita and everything. I think he's a sannyasi, samnyasa. All his efforts he puts inside, he earns the money and gives it to me. So although he's a grahastha, he's a sannyasi. Prabhupada called him completely renounced person. So how to deal with our possessions, how to discipline our mind, and how to live a high-end life within this body that you exist is explained here. That's the meaning of a yogi. Yogi is not a fool who does not know how to have sense gratification and enjoy life. That every Tom, Dick and Harry is doing, even the dog is doing it on the roadside. So he knows human life is meant for this purpose and I want to get it. That's the meaning of a yogi. Don't think only the yogi is a person who wears his kopinam and goes to the forest somewhere in the Himalayas and sits there and takes a cold water bath. There can be yogis right here in this space we are in. And in Prabhupada's movement, I've seen so many of them. Very focused. Sometimes I feel even I am not so focused as a sannyasi. Very focused. So you can be a yogi as per the description here while you are there in your house, there, right there. Don't think this requires to leave your house. You don't have to go to the forest. In Kali Yuga, the house really is the forest. And you have wild animals there all around you. I'm sorry to say this. Forest is deforested. There is no forest. They have already removed all the trees, by the way. That's why there is climate change and everything. Right? So, Chanakya Pandit has said this very nicely. He said, in Kali Yuga, where you live is so wild. Right? Yasya mata swayam nasti bharya apriyavadini aranyam tena gantavyam yata aranyam tata griham. Aranya means forest. Griham means your house. In the house where you have a wife who is nag at this, that, you did not do that, you're useless, and your mother is not at home, right? Yasya mata grihe nasti. She's not there at home, mother for you. Bharya cha apriya vadini. She never speaks some endearing, nice words to you. Aranyam tena gantavyam. Better you go out. Because yata aranyam tata griham. Your house is anyway a forest. You better you go out of this place. Very powerful statement. So don't think that you have to physically go somewhere to a forest. You don't need to physically go to a forest. If you look at the situation you're in Kali Yuga, you will see there are wild animals in the company you go to work in. They come with coat, suit, book, and very well dressed. And their whole business is how to do that, this politics, psychopathic guys. They take great pleasure in watching other people in trouble. Psychologically affected people. In the workplace, you'll see them in your house, amongst your relatives, you'll see all sorts of places you'll see them. They are actually, as good as animals, dangerous people. You will see all these things in your life. So you can very well be a yogi right there by practicing restraint, controlling your mind, and facing these people with Krishna consciousness. So you will see Krishna is advising Arjuna, don't run away from the battlefield. This is a chance to be a yogi now, in this situation. Face it. Don't run away from Bhishma, Dronacharya out of your affection for them. It's a situation that's come about you, and this is the right time to practice yoga. That's why Krishna is saying. He's teaching this Ashtanga yoga. And you'll see here, 18th, Yada Viniyatam Chittam Atmani Eva Vatishtate Nishpraha Sarvakamebhyo Yuktaiti Uchate Tada. When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires. He's said to be well established in yoga. He is capable of fixing yourself and disciplining yourself and doing. So Krishna describes the yogi and what is his internal situation. And you will see this, he describes his internal situation. He has achieved that peaceful spiritual atmosphere by meditating on Krishna in the heart. You'll see in Shloka 20 and 23, Yam labdva cha param labham manyate nadikam tatah yasmin stito na dukhe na guruna vichalyate. Yam labdva cha aparam labham. Having attained this state, he thinks there is no greater thing to be attained. Right? That is the position that you can attain by yoga. And this path that Krishna is describing is one type of yoga called Ashtanga Yoga, that is using the physical body, disciplining the body and the mind, and fixing yourself on the supreme in the heart, physically correcting yourself. But if you have read the purport, you will see Prabhupada says that this yoga doesn't work now. In the Kali Yuga, very difficult for people to practice this because they're not so strong mentally. They're not even so strong spiritually at all. If you tell them Sucho Deshe Pratishtapya, they'll adjust themselves and they'll go to sleep. They'll all go to sleep if you tell them to practice meditation. Invariably, I see them, they fall asleep. Because mostly they're not having sleep properly. You give them a nice place, very good situation, and if you tell them to sit down, breathe nicely, after some time they become so comfortable that you see them snoring. They go to sleep. It's a regular thing, they go to sleep. Because they're not sleeping properly. First of all, don't come to practice yoga. First, go sleep properly. That is the first thing for yogi. If you're not able to sleep properly, if you're not able to eat properly, those are all prerequisites for practicing yoga. Right? First, go and practice that. Sleep properly. I was told by I do a few asanas and Surya Namaskar and all that in the morning for health and all that. And I said, I come late, there are late night programs. And said, then you don't do all these asanas, just take a rest first. He told me this. For people like you, better you don't need to do. You're not having any bad habits of this, that, you don't eat meat, drink and all that. For you, the most important thing is take good rest at the right time. That itself is enough yoga for you. He told me, because you're not involved in all the other things. You're chanting Hare Krishna, you're attached to this thing, all you sleep well. That yoga is enough for you. He said, first you sleep well, then only you do asanas. If any day you don't have good sleep, your asana is to sleep. He said, just go to sleep. A good night's sleep is your first asana, he told me. So a very practical man, good yogi. He's a specialist yoga therapy. For diseases, he gives yoga. So you should first practice this basic discipline of your body, getting up at the right time, eating the right type of food, not eating too much of it, not eating too less of it, eating at the right time, sleeping at the right time, getting up at the right time. This is very good precursor to yoga, especially if you're doing Ashtanga Yoga for the purpose of Krishna consciousness, which most people don't do in the Kali Yuga. But what we do, Krishna consciousness, as given in the Bhagavad Gita, is to directly Bhakti Yoga. We chant Hare Krishna, we get up early in the morning, we do Mangalarati, we worship Tulasi, we all sit down and chant the holy name when the sun is rising during Brahma Muhurta. It's an exciting time. Everything is quiet and the atmosphere is very nice and peaceful. You can breathe, gulp huge amounts of good air, and you can chant Krishna's name. And then slowly by 6:37, all the noise starts coming up again, the traffic, the this and that and everything. But you can capture the morning in Sattvika Guna. That's why I tell all of you to join us in the early morning chanting program at least. Get up early. That's the minimum you can do. Sleep early, right? Get up early and try to chant Hare Krishna. You can join the group that we have. You can at least chant for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30, 40, how much of a time you have. But you capture the morning. The morning is Sattvika Guna. There's little discipline, if it's there, you'll find it becomes very easy and you become very efficient throughout the whole day. You get more out of the day than you're already getting. You know what I mean? If you're getting X amount of work done, you'll see you'll get 2x, 3x done if you're disciplined. And there's no loss of time. That's all. You just do things at the right time. So this is a very important thing Krishna is trying to explain, discipline. I am putting it in common parlance as discipline. But a yogi means he's not an ordinary person, run-of-the-mill person. He's got a business in life. Yato nischalati, text 26. Yato nischalati manas chanchalamas tatastato niyam aita atman yeva vasannaya. Before I go into that, here is Prabhupada's quote from the purport. Please read that, Sharanya.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, which are demands of the body, can block advancement in the practice of yoga.
Okay. You must be determined. Prabhupada gives this story in the purport to text 24. Because Krishna says yoga should be practiced with determination. Sa nischayena yoktavyo, nischayena, nischa, dhairya. Nischaya means determination. Prabhupada is giving a Puranic story about a sparrow that had laid its eggs on the beach. And the sea washed those eggs away into the waters. And so the sparrow came and told the sea, flying in the breeze, against the breeze, "Give back my eggs." And there was no sound. "Give back my eggs, my children, my eggs." And the sparrow said, "If you don't give back my eggs, I will empty you." And the sea never bothered to answer. So this sparrow went and took one beak full of water and went and put it on the beach and took another beak full of water. You can imagine what a horrible thing it will be for a sparrow to empty the ocean. I'm sure you'll laugh at it. But the sparrow was determined, I will do it. And then news went in the birds' world about the distress of the sparrow, from the sparrow community to other birds and other birds and other birds. And the news reached Garuda, who's the king of all the birds. He heard about the determination of the sparrow in wanting to empty the ocean. And you know, Garuda is a very huge, strong bird, a carrier of Vishnu. So he came flying down, swooping down to where the sparrow was. He consoled the sparrow and he told the sea, "If you don't deliver the eggs now, I'm going to take the job of the sparrow. I'll do it like this in a jiffy. I'll empty you in no time." The sea immediately got afraid of Garuda and delivered the eggs. And Garuda returned the eggs to the sparrow and consoled the sparrow. "You're very determined. That's why I was very impressed." Prabhupada speaks this story in this 24th shloka purport and say, one must not think that it is not possible. One must be determined to do it. All sorts of things the mind will tell you. No, why are you doing this? Nobody is doing this around you. Krishna may have spoken it in the Bhagavad Gita, but it's not practical. Can you see anybody doing it? Just enjoy life, that's okay. Just manage it this way. Don't do all these things. It's a waste of time because you'll never be successful. Imagine you spend all your time doing this and there's no success at the end. Neither this nor that. Might as well practice material life. It is for sure you will get things done. But don't do, your mind will tell you all sorts of things. But you remain determined. Determined means working against the mind's proposals, which are against Krishna's proposals in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? You determine that what Krishna has said will happen. It may take time. It may happen because Krishna will show mercy. Determination. Rakshishyatiti vishvaso bhoktatve varanam tata. Surrender means one of the qualities, for sure Krishna will protect me, for sure I'll get the result because I'm following the instructions of Krishna given in Bhagavad Gita. Right? Somehow, even for that sparrow, that, Krishna sent Garuda for that sparrow. So here, again about determination, what Prabhupada is saying here, you can also see.
If anyone follows the principles with great determination, the Lord will surely help, for God helps those who help themselves.
Right. Thank you very much, Rekha. The Lord helps those who help themselves. If you put in your effort, Krishna will put in his effort. Yayata mam prapadyante tangs tathaiva bhajamyaham mamavattamā anuvartante manushya partha sarvashaya. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that as you come to me with your effort, I will also come towards you proportionately. So it's necessary for us to be determined and practice. Don't expect something automatically to happen, some wonderful thing to happen, some miracle to happen. You put in your effort, definitely Krishna will put in his effort too. That's what is the meaning of yoga. And in 26, Krishna goes ahead to say, the mind will definitely trouble you while you're doing yoga. Yato yato nischalati manaschanchalam astiram tatastato niyamaitat atmanyeva vasam nayet. Right? He's saying that wherever, okay, let's ask somebody else to read that. Vinaya Ganesh Babu. Vinay Ganesh Babu, would you like to read that translation to the shloka 26? You can either see it on the screen or you can read from your book. Okay. My surprise check didn't work. Vinay Ganesh Babu is not responding. Saraswati Kupan.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self.
Thank you, Saraswati. Right?
Hare Krishna.
Krishna is saying that your mind will wander. It will go here and there. You catch hold of it and bring it back. Catch hold of it and bring it back. Abhyasa yenatu kaunteya. You practice this. Afterwards, the mind will become trained. By repeatedly you doing this, the mind will become trained. So don't worry if you are chanting Krishna's name or reading Bhagavad Gita, your mind wanders. Oh, tell him shut up and come back. That's the nature of the mind. It's the monkey mind. Right? Chanchalam astiram. Manas chanchalam astiram. Here spelled wrong. Chanchala means always agitated and moving, not fixed. That's the nature of the mind. The material mind is like that. So you just need to catch hold of it with your intelligence and put it back. Focus, focus, focus. You got to keep telling yourself and practice. After some time, it gets tamed. It gets tamed. It starts listening. Bring it back under the control of the self. Right? So, I will finish here. These are instructions that Krishna is giving for practicing Ashtanga Yoga, disciplining your body, disciplining your senses, controlling your mind, following a process and a methodology, and focusing yourself on meditation of the Lord in the heart. But throughout in the purport, you'll also read that in Kali Yuga, this is not possible to do. Because you'll see towards the end of the chapter, Arjuna will reject it. He will tell Krishna, I don't think I can do this yoga which you're talking about. And the whole world is made that yoga which was rejected by Arjuna a $60 billion industry. That's very funny to me when I read this first. And the world does such crazy things people do. And everybody follows it. Everybody is very eager to follow untruth. What is not real is the most fashionable and popular thing to follow. What is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita is least popular, but it is so intelligent proposal. It is so much close to reality. But the amazing illusion is that everybody is stuck with the wrong thing and they're very comfortable with it. And then they die and they have done nothing in their life towards their progress internally. They get cheated and they feel it's odd, uncomfortable to do these things which Krishna has mentioned. No. Today, the same yoga can be achieved, the result, by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and meditating on the sound of the holy name. Krishna has appeared as the sound of the holy name. Right? What you hear in the sound, Krishna is there. You can contact Krishna just by a movement of your tongue. And if you simply focus on the sound vibration, you will be as good a yogi as this person sitting in the Himalayas and meditating on the Lord in the heart. It's equivalent to that is this. You will increase your meditation very easily. Gradually, as you chant more and more and more focusedly, you become attached to Krishna. And you become a lover of Krishna. And your meditation becomes very perfect after that. And this seems very natural for you because you're originally a part and parcel of Krishna, as Krishna is saying here. And it's natural for you to fall in love with Krishna. And if you chant his holy names, it will happen. It's a special, process given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is none other than Krishna himself, who is the Yuga Avatar, Kali Yuga Avatar. And Krishna is talking about that same thing in Bhagavad Gita also. So this 6th chapter, Krishna is focusing on this. And in the end, when Arjuna rejects it, beautifully Krishna will say, yes, you're right, in a different way. He will say, yoga really means bhakti. Yoga really means the topmost yogi is my devotee. Yoginam api saridesham matkate nantaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yomam sami yukta uttama matah. Yukta uttama. Uttama means topmost. That yogi who is my devotee, constantly serving me, thinking of me, he is the highest yogi of all. Better you become that yogi. Krishna tells Arjuna, it's okay, you have rejected this Ashtanga Yoga, I understand. But what I am trying to tell you is, you can follow this or you can directly worship me and become my devotee. That person is definitely the best of all yogis. You will see the conclusion coming in the next 2 sessions. I will stop here and I will open up for any questions that you have.